to Leitner. Puts it up.
You're listening to the Culture State Podcast.
Get ready.
Woo! Welcome back to another episode of the Culture State Podcast. I am Chris Lee.
And I'm Dennis Cox.
Yep. Is that applause for us? Did I hear it in the background?
Yeah, it is.
That's awesome. We're taking a step up in the world. We got to make sure that we show some more hometown love, specifically my hometown, of High Point, North Carolina. We haven't had NASCAR yet on it, and NASCAR is so North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure that, first of all, this is a long NASCAR season. We kind of got started in January. But when NASCAR's off season is in, we're going to try to get a lot more NASCAR representation on this show. But while we have it now, we had a few minutes to spend with Ryan Blaney, driver of the number 12 car. And I believe he's for Team Penske, driving for Team Penske. And he's from High Point, North Carolina, one of the young, exciting, up-and-coming drivers that there is right now in the Cup Series in NASCAR. And, yeah, it's just exciting to have him on, and we got a chance to talk to him a few days ago.
From the day that we're recording this, I believe 17 top 10s this season alone, which is just, it's absolutely insane how good he is. And if you talk about, again, racing in the state of North Carolina, when you look at some of the greatest to do what they ever done in their sport or competition, Michael Jordan, basketball speaks for itself, right? Richard Petty, the king, from right here in North Carolina. So, some of the best to ever do it are from right here in this state.
Richard Petty is on another level, and that's going to be something that I want to try to get done for us as well. Interview with him. But he's left such a legacy here, and there's been so many people that's grown up around here that want to be like him, or people who've come to the state of North Carolina to, follow their dreams of becoming a NASCAR driver, all because of Richard Petty. And so, Ryan Blaney, he was born elsewhere, but grew up most of his life in High Point with his dad. His dad was into the racing business and everything like that. So just an amazing young man. One of his marquee moments that I remember is when they had the first Roval at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So for those who are listening who don't know what that is, the typical oval that you race around, they changed it at Charlotte Motor Speedway into a road course. So there's left turns, there's right turns, there's twisties, there's chicanes, there's all kinds of things happening over there. And Ryan Blaney won the very first one in spectacular fashion because the two cars that were ahead of him crashed out literally at the last chicane. And then through the smoke, you see Ryan Blaney, and he comes in and he finished first. Huge moment in his career. And he's done nothing but just kind of go up since then.
He's still young. He's early in his 30s. He's got a fantastic career.
He's 27, right?
Right. Not even. He's 27.
Yeah.
I didn't even hit 30 yet. So he's got a long time ahead of him before he even reaches his peak as a driver. And he's still he's already established himself as one of the best now. And you talk about people coming to North Carolina for the racing business. So many of these teams like Penske, Joe Gibbs, they're all based either in Charlotte or around Charlotte. That's where all their garages are. That's where they operate. NASCAR's Hall of Fame and operations are right there in Charlotte, downtown. And you mentioned Charlotte Motor Speedway, just outside the city. So NASCAR and just racing in general is embedded in this state. If you want to be in that business, this is where you come.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of big time racing that's happened here in the state of North Carolina. I mean, it's just so big. And I hope that for racing and for our racing heads, I hope that they clean up the Wilkes Motor Speedway over in Wilkes County, and that they bring some racing back. I hope that they bring back dirt racing that used to happen in Raleigh, right? They brought back dirt racing this year, but it wasn't in Raleigh. I hope they bring it back to Raleigh. And then I also hope that the All-Star race comes back to Charlotte. It's been a Texas Motor Speedway this year. It's going to go back next year. And I know NASCAR is trying to, expand their horizons and everything, but man, you've got to keep the big races where the
Yeah,
big races are at, I think.
for
And
sure.
I think having an all-star race in Charlotte would be amazing. But it's not time for me to be on my pedestal about this.
No, no, no.
That's just some ideas I wanted to throw out there to NASCAR if they happen to be
It's
listening.
just our podcast, Chris.
Yeah.
We don't need any of that. But you mentioned the small tracks and the dirt races and things like that. That is actually some of the most fun you can have. Just go watching those just little quarter-mile tracks, whether it's all dirt or small pavement, whatever it is. Those can be a lot of fun. Just come out there in community, just having a good time watching these races. And there are a lot of just sprints. Like, okay, it's a quarter-mile track, 20 laps. It's just go, go, go. It really is a lot of fun to go attend something like that every once in a while. It really is a good time. And there's so many tracks around this state that I want to see them come back.
Yeah. And even the smaller tracks where that you were referring to, where the young guns are out there trying to make a name for themselves.
Where you cut your teeth.
It's sometimes you can like stumble upon a track. If you didn't know where a track was, you can stumble like, oh, there's a track here, and they race every weekend, and it's a fun time. It really is a fun time. Dennis, if you ever get a chance to be in Winston-Salem over the summer, go to Bowman Gray. You got to experience Bowman Gray races.
All right.
That is a place where Richard Petty won a lot back in like the 60s. But it's also just kind of like a throwback. It's where Winston-Salem State plays their football in the fall, but in the summer, this is where races happen. And it's just it's a really fun Saturday night.
Yeah, that's so North Carolina. Get football games in the fall, racing in the summertime, all at one place.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Of course. All right. So after this quick break, we're going to hear from High Point, North Carolina's own Ryan Blaney right here on the Culture State Podcast. All right. They say that people from High Point, North Carolina are the coolest people in the world. Two people on this call are from High Point, North Carolina. Dennis, I'm sorry that you're not. So there's two people here that could qualify as two of the coolest people in the world. One happens to be a really good NASCAR driver and has won 3 races so far this season, and a part of the playoff race right now as NASCAR is starting to wind up for the season. Ryan Blaney is joining us right now. First off, thank you for your time today, but also I want to ask you about your 3 wins this season and 2 as recently as August. How is your team clicking right now, and how do you feel for the rest of this playoff push?
Well, first of all, I haven't met many people that say High Point people are the coolest people ever, so that's good. Nice to meet a fellow High Point.
Do it for the hometown.
Having good times in High Point, and cool to go back every now and then. But no, this year is it's been pretty good for us. Obviously, as of late, winning the final couple races in the regular season. Michigan and Daytona really helped us out. Obviously, gave us really good momentum going into the playoffs, right? Confidence was high, and, we did our jobs in the first round, was able to transfer, and, and now everything resets, and we head on out to Vegas for the second round. So just hope to do the same thing. It's just everyone do their job and do it to the best of their abilities. And I feel like if our team can do that, we can go out and compete with the best guys and win races and keep moving on and hopefully make it to Phoenix. That's obviously the goal, and just have to stay focused on the task at hand.
So with the playoff structure, obviously it's different than it was in years past. Does that impact how you approach each individual race before the playoffs, or is it, look, we're gunning for a checkered flag, we're gunning for a win?
Yeah, with the kind of the playoff format nowadays, they put a bigger emphasis on winning in the regular season, right? Giving you bonus points that carry through the playoffs and through the rounds. And then, winning stages, giving you a playoff point. It's extra incentive to kind of win throughout the regular season, and perform well. As in a handful of years ago, before they kind of had the playoff points thing, that if you won a race, you're already into the playoffs. And so you kind of have teams go into almost like a R&D year of like trying things before the playoffs, because they're like, well, it doesn't matter. Everything resets. We could win one race, or we could win 6 races in the regular season, and we'll have the same points as that guy. So NASCAR started benefiting guys and teams that win more in the regular season. So obviously it's huge to do that, and big to win in the playoffs too, because it transfers you automatically to the next round, as well as giving you bonus points. So winning is key. I mean, that's in any sport. And in our sport, it just kind of helps you out throughout your playoff run. So mindset this weekend is to win Vegas and already be locked into the next round. That's the best thing to do. Easier said than done, but that's what everyone's got their mind on.
I know it's one race at a time, and you're looking ahead to the very next race. But is it hard not to look at the schedule and see Roval coming up, knowing that one of the most exciting races in the last few years, the inaugural Roval 400 that you won, and you get a chance to come home and you have the experience of winning there at Charlotte Motor Speedway? Is that exciting to look at? And do you feel like you have an advantage going into that race?
Yeah, it is exciting for sure. To look back at that race and, a few years ago, and that was a very exciting finish. We kind of were able to be the right place at the right time and parted the seas. And, so that was, it was cool to win that first one. I feel like, now going back to the Roval for this is our 4th year running the Roval. It's kind of normal now. When we started doing it in 2018, no one knew what to expect. It was completely different from any road course we've run before. And now it's like, oh, we're just going to the Roval. It's just part of the schedule now. So I think that experience, being there a few times for everybody helps everybody out, obviously. But I think us winning there, we've had good runs there. I mean, we won in 18. We ran 5th there last year. So I think we run pretty good at that racetrack. So yeah, it's nice to go home. Stay around home. A lot of guys are, grew up in the North Carolina area. So it's nice. And obviously the teams are around here. So we take a lot of pride in that race whenever we can run at Charlotte. And the Roval is just one of them special ones that you want to get check flag in.
Speaking of just racing in North Carolina, what makes auto racing in this state so special?
I think just the history of motorsports, kind of on the East Coast or wherever you want to, have it. I think it's just kind of where NASCAR was built and born. Well, not really in North Carolina per se, but kind of down the East Coast and, the Southeast. So, but yeah, for me personally, I grew up in High Point. Charlotte is an hour from where I grew up. Honestly, I grew up to Martinsville, closer than Charlotte. Martinsville is only about, 40 minutes away from High Point, but, so I think it's just everyone wants to win at home, where they grew up, where they spent most of their life. And it's just got a big connection here with the, people that, follow motorsports forever, whether they're from, California or North Carolina. I feel like everyone can come here and see all the race shops because all the teams are really based in like a 30-mile radius of each other around the Charlotte area, Mooresville area. And it's a lot of bragging rights whenever we go to the Charlotte racetrack.
All right, let's talk a little bit of High Point, if you will. I went to Southwest Guilford, so I'm a Cowboy, class of 04. Do you have any fond memories? I wanted to ask you about Ocala Mall. Do you have any fond memories of Ocala Mall before it started to tank and went down the hill and it just doesn't exist anymore?
Yeah, it's still standing, right? It's just there's nothing in there.
I believe it's still standing, but there's like nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to IHM for elementary school and middle school. And then I went to Bishop McGuinness for high school, and that was in Kernersville. So it's kind of outside of High Point I went to high school in, but I do have some fond memories of Ocala. That's what you did as a kid. You get your parents to drop you off at the mall and you just walk around there with your friends and sit at the food court and go see a movie. And it's weird. Like that was a thing back in the day, right? It's weird that your parents would just drop you off at this location and leave you for hours and you find your friends and you wouldn't even buy anything. You just kind of hang out there. I mean, that was what it was. So, and I do remember Ocala, it did have a kind of a sketchy reputation every now and then. It wasn't the safest place to be. But, it was the place to go. It was a place to hang out at. And, I probably, can't talk too much of maybe what we did around there at the parking lot or something like that, but no, a lot of fun. I love going back to High Point. Honestly, I went back to High Point like 3 months ago for the first time in a few years and was on Main Street and things like that. And it was crazy the amount of things that are new popped up, breweries and new restaurants, and almost couldn't recognize it, how many things were new and around there. So it's cool to see that area growing. Obviously the university is a big part of that. But that's cool to go back to your hometown, especially when you haven't been there in a handful of years and kind of see the growth. And but then you see things, you're like, oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. And And then, I mean, you can't forget the biscuit factory. I mean, that was the best thing ever. Yep. I get a biscuit factory. I try to get one every time I go to Martinsville. I try to pass through High Point and get one because it's best biscuits in the world. I would say that.
Dennis, we got to put you on. I know you're from Virginia. You don't know anything about that, but
yeah, I say you've been Chris. There's fantastic biscuits in High Point. I'm just now finding out from Ryan. I'm hurt. About this.
Well, you know, due to COVID, I haven't really been back to High Point myself a lot, but and I know Ryan, you'd have fun at the High Point Rockers games, but you're normally racing during that time, so I don't think you'll get a chance to see them anytime soon.
No.
But if you just happen to, you know, have like an off week, is definitely a fun time. Bishop McGinnis, I just wanted to say this real quick. We have a meteorologist here, Kat Campbell at WRAL, who went to Bishop McGinnis. I want to say she's maybe a year or two older than you right
Kat
now.
Campbell.
So yeah, so I'm wondering if you guys, and I'm not even sure if that's her actual last name. I have to ask her, but
I'm not sure. Honestly, I missed a lot of days in high school. Man, I was racing so much. I missed a lot of days. I didn't talk to a lot of people. So I didn't have the biggest social life in high school. And but yeah, I'd be interested to see when she graduated. I would have graduated there in 2012. My last year was 2011 though. But yeah, those were good times. That was a small little private school, and Bishop wasn't too bad. We were the villains. We had a good basketball team. We had a good girls basketball team for a long time.
Yeah. Won championship after championship. Always beat my Southwest Gulf Cowgirls.
Yeah.
So as we are wrapping this thing up, and I know you're short on time, but with the rest of the playoff season like coming up really soon, like outside of Charlotte, is there a particular and maybe outside of Martinsville, is there a particular track that you're looking forward to racing at the most, or is it one of those two?
You know, I mean, personally, I love Martinsville. You know, for multiple reasons, because one, I grew up really close there. I went and watched my dad race there so many times as a kid, you know, growing up with my family, just because it was right down the road. And another one is just, you know, special to me just because the heritage there, you know, being able to, I drove for the Wood Brothers for a couple of years, and they were right in Stewart, you know, Virginia, right down the street from Martinsville. So, you know, to run for those guys at that track, their home track, was special. And, you know, we've been so close to that track a lot of times. You know, I've run second there 2-3 times and led a ton of laps and had great shots to win them, and just kind of giving them away on pit road, and just we've kept making mistake after mistake. So it'd be nice to finally close one out there. And that's almost what makes you more hungry, right? It's like, man, we should have won at this place 2 or 3 times, and just we haven't really performed to our best and kind of given them away, and that makes you hungrier to try to go back at it. But I love Martinsville. That's such a fun track, and a lot of my friends and family come to that track too, which even makes it cooler.
Well, since I'm from High Point and you are too, you know, I'm going to take off my shirt, twist around my head like a helicopter for you at the next race. And I'm going to make sure that we're going to be cheering for Ryan Blaney for the rest of the playoff season.
Oh, perfect, man. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate it. It's fun.
All right, we want to thank Ryan Blaney, NASCAR, and Team Penske for making him available for us. We only had like a quick 10 minutes, but, you know, I'm not going to brag too much on ourselves.
Oh,
but you
really?
can tell he wanted to spend more time with us.
Now you're not. Oh yeah. Well, you brag on us. I was thinking you are bragging about High Point.
No. I'm talking about the Culture State podcast. He wanted to spend more time with us for sure.
Well, of course. Who doesn't want to spend more time with us?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Tell us all about it.
Yeah, well, you two were broing out, you know, over High Point, North Carolina. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I get it. Wait, hold on, Chris. Before we talk to Ryan, you mentioned about how there's a racetrack in Winston-Salem that Richard Petty used to dominate back in the day. You've been holding out on me on that, Chris. And apparently you've been holding out on biscuits. You've been holding out on biscuits for me, Chris? What's going on here?
So the Biscuit Factory is a real place in High Point. Yeah. It's really good. Yeah. It's like right there at the corner of East Chester and Main Street.
Okay.
I went there a little bit more when I was younger, like before the age of, I would say between ages 6 when we moved to High Point, 6 and maybe 11. Okay. I probably haven't been since I was 11 or 12 years old. But I do remember that the biscuits are huge, and they're some of the best biscuits that you ever have in your life.
Biscuits. What you telling me?
They're thick biscuits with 2 C's.
Thick biscuits. You've been holding out thick biscuits on me, Chris. I am. You've been holding out.
Well, I mean, on me. I don't know what you like, man. We talk about everything, like, you know, jelly. I don't like the texture. Smoothies. Oh, I don't like the texture. Like what? Like who doesn't like a smoothie? I've never heard that before.
I don't like smoothies. That's fine. But you're holding out biscuits on me, Chris. Have you seen this body? I'm thick for a reason. I love me some biscuits, and you've been holding out on me, man.
All right, well, we got to go get some biscuits then. I didn't realize that you were so into biscuits like that. We'll make sure you get you some biscuits from
my
Biscuit
girlfriend.
Factory.
Loves biscuits too. I gotta bring some for her. You've been holding out on both of us, Chris. Gosh.
Sorry about that. If you feel like driving to High Point, go to the Biscuit Factory and get some biscuits then. I'm sure you can put all the meat that you want on it as well.
I've been making you vegan every Saturday morning for our radio show in my slow cooker. Bella's been cooking up a storm, and you've been holding out biscuits. All right, that's fine. That's fine. So
sorry, I didn't know that you wanted to go to High Point, North Carolina so bad. Maybe you can learn a little tackle grapple before you get there so you're feeling safe. And on the streets of High Point, North Carolina.
By the High Point mini mall. Speaking of malls, I can only imagine what a young Chris Lee was like walking around being a mall rat at the age of 17.
Probably not 17. But before I could drive for sure.
Okay.
Like
so
in the
14-year-old Chris Lee.
Yeah, in a drop-off age.
Just walking around the mall. I can only imagine
I wasn't into mischief. Like,
really?
That's the thing. I didn't get in trouble as a kid. And I like literally the worst thing that came from my childhood was I got in trouble like when I was like in second grade for like taking a quarter out of somebody's cubby or whatever.
There you
go. That was pretty bad. It felt like so at the time anyway, because I was stressed out. But after that, honestly, like I didn't really get into trouble. I wasn't like a troublesome type of kid. But what I was trying to do, though, I'm gonna tell you about 14-year-old Chris Lee, right? I thought I was the Mac Daddy, even though I wasn't.
Yep.
Had my braids, you know what I'm saying? I thought I looked fly, had on my Dada shirts, you know what I'm saying? My big Gerbo jeans and the Dada shoes. Would go to the mall, you know what I'm saying? In my right pocket, I had my wallet, with probably about $30 in there. I was balling for a 14-year-old, you know what I'm saying? In my left pocket, I had in chapstick, a little handheld, lotion. So I could put some lotion right there on my hands, make sure my hands are all moisturized. And I always carried around a pen and a piece of paper, just in case if I met a young lady, so I could write down her phone number.
All right.
Always did that. Now, how many times did I ever do that? Zero. But I did it though. I was prepared just in case.
Hey, you were ready. Ready.
I had to do it.
I respect that. So this is the early days of Show Smooth. This is where Show Smooth was born. It's smooth hands, ready to go. I get it. Close.
We've talked about the origin of the name Show Smooth before.
Oh, I know.
But this is around, this was probably Show Smooth was probably just about to be born. Yeah, but he was there. I wasn't as much of a ladies' man as I thought, I could have been, just mainly because I was shy, I would just stare. Hey, I was the nice guy. Hey, I'm Chris.
Hi, I'm Christopher.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
I make A's and B's in school. Nice to meet you. I like pro wrestling. I just thought I was going to get all the girls with that one, but, I didn't. Looking back, I could see why.
Oh, man.
At the time, though, I was just like, no, they're like, why wouldn't she want me? I mean, look at this. I make A's and B's and I like pro wrestling.
Exactly. Man, we are bless our hearts, as I like to say, Chris. Bless our hearts.
I want to know what 14-year-old Dennis was like when you're getting dropped off at the
look at that.
mall in Charlottesville.
Time. That never really went to the focus. Wait, where I grew up, the closest mall was like 30 minutes away. So it's not like dropped off or anything like that. So I never hung out at the mall, really.
Okay.
No, wasn't me. No, it's not a mall rat, sadly, but truly.
You hung out in the cornfields, or you went to go cow tipping, stuff
no,
like that?
No, cow tipping. Just because my town didn't get a traffic light until I was 16, Chris, doesn't mean we cows, okay?
I mean, I've heard those stories from friends here in North Carolina in small places,
Yeah.
like Sanford, Lee County. Like, yeah, we go to cow tipping on the weekends. It's like, okay, I guess this is what you do when you don't have a mall to go to and walk around at.
And you just find stuff to do. That's really about it. But that's all. Big shout out Ryan Blaney. By the way, by the date we're recording this, just finished 5th in Las Vegas. So big shout out to him.
Yep. NASCAR is currently in the playoffs. So if you haven't paid attention to NASCAR this season, I would say start paying attention now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big time, young drivers who are in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs right now. And coming up at Charlotte, this will be the cutoff. So the top 8, I think, the top 12 are in now. The top 8 will then move on after Charlotte at the Roval, which, remember, we talked about it with Ryan Blaney. Yeah. That is the race. That is a big time race that he won back in 2017 or 2018, whenever it was. So, he has an advantage coming into that place. So we'll see what happens.
I believe he's sitting 4th right now, so he should be good to go moving up into the next round.
But as he said, though, it's the best thing to do is to win, because somebody who's in 12th place can pull out a win and get that automatic qualifier and then move a few people down. Exactly. So the best thing he can do is win, and he has a few more chances at it before they do another cutoff. But good job for him. And we're going to be cheering for him because he is from the state of North Carolina, specifically from High Point.
That's right.
336, baby.
336 for you, Chris. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Culture State Pod. Also, listen to us Saturday mornings live from 10 to noon on 99.9 The Fan, or you can listen to it on WRAL Sports Fan or the WRAL Sports Fan app. It's free.
Absolutely free. And guess what? When the pandemic is over, we're going to give you a free hug every time we see you out in public.
Boom. Free.
Just wear some deodorant. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Follow me at Chris Lee TV. He's at The Fan Rookie. Follow at the Culture State Pod or at Culture State Pod on IG and Twitter, and we'll interact with you there. Might even follow you back. Peace out.
The Culture State Podcast, part of the Capital Broadcasting Podcast Network, with new shows coming out every Wednesday. Download and subscribe from wherever you get your podcasts, including the WRAL Sports Fan app.